Hey everybody. So I haven't really talked about much about the environmentalism and some of our views on climate change and stuff like that, partially because we are not experts in all that. We've done some research or things for various classes and stuff like that, but as it comes down to it, we are never necessarily the best
There's a lot
proponents
of
about this stuff.
There's a lot of science that goes into sustainability and climate change that we're not always up to date on, but it is something that we are definitely passionate about and definitely feel passionate about doing, the parts that we are able to. So
yeah, and so the thing is that we do regular recycling. We drive down to another city, we drive all our recycling there because our city has really shit recycling. We try to, we bought a Prius, right? We have a car that is partially electric, and that helps. Also, we don't go anywhere, so it doesn't get used very often. In fact, we just got rid of our second car because we never fucking used it.
Big thing that I'm with on crafting is using the materials that I already have and trying to use more natural materials instead of synthetics, when possible. I have 8 of those bullet journals still, so I'm just using them up because I can, right? That to me is a lot more sustainable than trying to buy a new one. So.
Yeah. So for people who want to understand, at least my background on this is that I come from a Zen order that is very, very focused on sustainability. I remember a story once where at a Mankind Project event, my Zen master, Junpo, who sadly passed earlier this year, was trying to, make fun of some of the men, I guess, and was saying something to the effect of you guys say you're big men, you say you're emotionally sound, you can do all this stuff. And then what he did is he kind of made up a little chicken cage inside their little arena or building area they were working in, and basically said, just said, if you think you're a big man, do what they do to those birds in factory farming. Cut off their beak, leave them in the dark, that kind of, the horrors that come from that shit. And these guys got really mad, eventually kicked him out. But his point still stood. He was trying to make a very good point, is that you're sitting there telling yourself you're in integrity, you're being this incredibly, emotionally sound guy, and yet your relationship with the environment, your relationship with the world is shit. One of the things I loved about my Zen master is he was based. He would regularly say during Dharma talks, which are called teishos, he would say, we live in an imperial capitalist society, right? This is the system we're in that's consuming the world. That is what it is. And he was formally against that. That partially comes from Zen's background of trying to be, living in nature, not being of harm, not disturbing anything, but also just him being, based enough to hold up a fucking skyscraper. I come by this naturally. My teachers have been a based drug dealer, Zen master, a based fucking doctorate therapist and lesbian, and old fucking folk musician / Sufi dervish teacher. I choose good teachers. Sadly, two of those people are passed. Based and lefty pilled. Anyway, so my point with all this is I come by this stuff very importantly, and it's something that I struggle with a lot. And so when I think about these things, I want to think out of the box. I want to be able to discuss them in ways that really matter to me, because I really like the idea of trying to come at some of the issues we struggle with from very out-of-the-box thinking. And so this is where I'm kind of coming from today. And this is something me and Zena have been talking about a lot. So one of them is that rather than saying that we're going to go into some discussion about I don't know, what is it? Where is it? Oh, dude.
Are you looking at the email?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think I spelled that wrong, but maybe it'll give me the right link. It gave me the right link. Excellent. So I'm going to share two things that I think are really cool. So, and maybe I'm not based for this, but I'm willing to accept it. One, I am not vegan, nor am I a vegetarian. I'm just not. I think vegetarianism and veganism are great. I think they're really good things to do. I cannot speak for everyone's experience. I know that when I went to Zen retreats that were 7 days long, where we were being fed extremely vegetarian and often vegan meals, I could do that for about a week. And then I would start getting weird. I found myself having a harder time functioning. Maybe that was psychosomatic. Maybe that was truthful. I don't know. But I've actually tried it on my own. It still creates the same thing. I still find myself in the same position of, I can do it for a bit, but even if I try to follow every guideline and try to make sure I get the right amount of protein and all these things, something doesn't click right. So I'm unfortunately, as far as I feel, stuck as a meat eater despite my best attempts. And I know for Zena, one of the big things is, especially during migraines, we've talked about this before, the two big things that come up as needs are sugar and protein.
Yeah.
Have you ever like got up at like midnight and like made like a frozen ass steak that's been in the back of your freezer for a while? Like, I don't mean like one of the good steaks, like $20, man. I mean like a $5 steak, and like made that shit up and then had popsicles. That's a night of our life. I need to
that's regular for us. Yes.
Yeah. So these are the two things we do. One of them is the thing I would love to be more a part of, and one of them is the thing we actually do. So the first thing is, we like to order from occasionally this place called Amaru Farms. They are non-factory farming, and what they sell is the coolest thing ever. What they sell is motherfucking emu. Emu is red meat. Emus,
from a bird.
They are a bird that is red meat, and the emus are essentially, in my mind, just powered down velociraptors. You can go to places like this and order emu, and if you're a meat eater, these prices aren't bad. Yeah, not to be right, don't eat emus, or emos. Emos don't eat, emus are fine. Yeah, avian dinosaurs are great. But they sell...
It's just solid red meat. And
so, yeah.
Oh, and it's also known to be much lower fat than beef is too, just by the way of,
Oh yeah, they have to mix duck fat into it to make it actually make burger palatable, because it's so...
lean.
So lean. Well, you should hang out with me more, Rosanna. Because, get your butt all adultified, and then, we'll send you food.
I do need to be clear. Don't tell me about eating rabbits. I'm good on that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just saying.
So here's my thing. One, yeah, it's not poultry, Adrian. It's fucking red meat.
No, it is poultry and red meat. That's the point. The USDA technically classifies it as red meat, but this is coming from a bird.
So technically that would be... I see what you're doing. Okay, I see what you're doing.
I don't know if it necessarily meets the FDA standards for, like, a poultry. I think it still does. That gets to... We get into, like, food definitions and law definitions versus, like, practical and science definitions, and they're not always the same, okay? That's a thing.
No, they are not endangered. They are very easy to breed. They are very, very easy to get to my understanding. And here's the thing. I'm going to be very clear. I'm very anthrocentric, meaning that I would like humans to keep being the dominant species on the planet, which means we have to stop those damnable dinosaurs from coming back. So, spoiler, this is how we fight the dinosaur menace. So...
and somebody took us seriously, and we got blamed for some weird stuff.
So, here's my point. These are... seriously, though, they are bastard birds.
Okay, we gotta wrap this up.
Okay, sorry, I'm just being silly now. So here's my point. These are really tasty. You can get really good food out of them. And again, they're not part of factory farming. So if you buy like their bird in a box or something similar, you can stop buying beef or other things that is really fucking great. Yeah, emu oil, by the way, they sell it right down here. Oh no, it's on another page. But
I thought it was at the bottom.
no, it's actually in there. They have it in specific parts.
Oh, okay, yeah. They sell a few other things here too.
AEA certified emo oil over here. This is what it looks like. So my point with this is that if you don't want to eat meat, don't. That's cool. I'm not saying you should have to in any way, shape, or form. What I'm saying, though, is if you're going to eat meat, try to get meat that's more sourced. And the nice thing about emu is, based on these different places, they are really good. But that's the thing we do now. In fact, we're probably going to make an order tonight. This is the other thing I'm a big fan of. Japanese scientists 3D print lab-grown Wagyu steak. It is a tasty lattice of fat, muscle, and blood vessels. Yeah, they are very similar to kiwis, though kiwis have an egg in them that's the same size as ostriches, and it's just in their entire body. Casual Geographic has ruined me on certain animals. Let's listen to this.
That was Casual Geographic, by the way, not be
National,
confused with the other people.
Yes.
National,
formerly known as Hood Nature. Fat is fine to eat.
So at some point, if somebody wants to help, there was a lot of issues with the sugar industry paying off and smear campaigns against fat as a food. Fat, yeah, really our issue is sugar. But again, I'm not a dietitian. You should definitely talk to a dietitian. So.
Yeah, no, Casual Geographic's funny as fuck. But yeah, no, fat, as long as it's healthy fats, are just fine. You need them in your body. Omega-3s, shit like that are super good. Anyway.
Scientists at Osaka University in Japan have managed to print lab-grown steak that they say greatly resembles products made from the world-renowned breeds of Wagyu beef cattle, an environmentally conscious and sustainable alternative to a genuine delicacy. The team harvested 2 types of stem cells from Wagyu cows, incubated them, and then converted them into muscle, fat, and blood vessel cells, as detailed in a new paper published in the journal Nature Communications. The end product is a 3-dimensional stack, 5 by 10 millimeters in size, of high-fat content steak that features the intricate marbling of Wagyu beef.
Yeah, so this is how they did it. And again, they motherfucking 3D printed expensive-ass steak.
Using the histological structure of Wagyu beef as a blueprint, we have developed a 3D printing method that can produce tailor-made complex structures, like muscle fibers, fat, and blood vessels, said lead author Dong Hikong in a statement. Custom steaks.
So here's the thing. Why am I talking about this on a channel where we normally talk about politics? Remember, environmentalism is politics. Republicans and conservatives and fascists made it that way. So here's my thought. Yeah, would you steal a cow? Kinda. Yeah, it's fucking replicators. So here's the thing. We're going to get more into this, but here's the thing is I'm a big... Yeah, food is super fucking political. I'm a big fan of this stuff because here's the argument I'm going to make. I do not think making the entire human public vegetarian or vegan is a feasible outcome, short of worldwide ecological collapse and being forced to by the very circumstances that could make that situation happen, such as famine and shit like that. I don't think it's possible because it is still deeply ingrained, and we were talking about this earlier today.
Yeah.
It is deeply ingrained in the cultural psyche of people, and it's deeply ingrained in political matters that people want meat.
We also don't have a great set of education to teach people about other food types and how to use them and how to integrate them in their diets right now. So it would be extraordinarily difficult, to suddenly not have a major food group for people. Yeah.
Yeah, like Ruth just said, yeah, like if someone won't wear a simple mask, why would they stop eating meat? Yeah, like it's super fucking true. And so my argument is the way you deal with things like this is through creative enterprise. One, if you're someone who's conscious, you want to eat meat, but you want to be more, whatever the term we want to use is woke, conscious, thoughtful, whatever the fuck you want to use. You can look into things like emu. You can look into sustainable beef. Like you can look into places. There was one I knew about in Colorado for a long time called Sunrise Ranch, where they would like ritualistically kill their animals in a very like humane way. That stuff is really cool. It's a little more expensive, but you can do it if you're able to. But this stuff, think about this. If we can nail this down as a system, do the research on it to make sure it's safe, you could, in a socialist or a SOCDEM system, make this the more feasibly financially accessible alternative, which means that the majority of people would eat this, right? If you're doing market socialism or you're doing something like that, like it would by definition be more accessible to those people who wanted meat and didn't have to go through the whole headache. Think about it. If you just have a 3D printer in your fridge that just can take whatever it fucking needs to and builds this thing in front of you, that's a lot easier than going to a store or having to go kill a cow.
We're probably a long way from 3D printers in your fridge.
I don't give a shit. I'm just saying, like,
factory-wise,
rather than fighting against an eon of human tradition of just eating whatever the fuck you find around, to me it just makes more sense to work with the system we've got and find clever alternatives that take out the actual ethical dilemma. Right? If the ethical dilemma is factory farming and the horrors it persists, you can either dodge that and still kill. I mean, human beings have to kill to eat, whether it's plants, animals, doesn't matter. We're in a universe that for some reason requires us consuming other things to get energy from. But if we can get to a point where this can happen, think about this. We can grow this stuff, and as long as it's safe, as long as everything seems to show it as being meat, this could be a really solid answer if people put the work into it. I want to find solutions that work.
Yeah.
Also, insects are a thing. Jess, are you saying you want to have a solar panel installed? I live in an apartment, but if I could, yes. So let's continue.
The scientists say that the process could even be used to create fully customized pieces of Wagyu steak.
Stop saying it like that.
For any meat lover willing to give lab-grown beef a try.
I'll do it.
By improving this technology, it will be possible to not only reproduce complex meat structures, such as the beautiful sashi of Wagyu beef, but to also make subtle adjustments to the fat and muscle components, senior author Michio Matsusaki said. The lab-grown meat industry is starting to morph into a fully fledged commercial enterprise, with the first ever lab-grown meat factory opening up in Israel in June.
Well, finally, something good in Israel. I'm gonna get in trouble with that joke.
You're gonna, yeah.
All right, let's finish this up.
In fact, the Osaka University researchers aren't alone in wanting to develop lab Wagyu. Orbalian Bio, a Silicon Valley startup, recently demoed similar exotic meats including a Wagyu meatloaf and elk. The advantages of culturing meat in a lab are considerable. Not only does it sidestep animal cruelty concerns and potentially impact the environment far less, but customers could look forward to meat that perfectly captures their personal preferences.
Seriously though, think about it. We talk about alienation based on capitalism, right? So capitalism takes meat from an animal, like this is a living animal, right? We're talking like a cow. And cows are just big hoof puppers, right? Can we be honest about that? Like, they're just hoof puppers. There's not much mental difference between my dog and a cow, save for one is a prey animal. And one is a giant ball of meat that's silly. I'm talking about Bun.
Yeah.
And so, to me, the difference between having to actually slaughter an animal, get meat from it, and all of that, versus, not to mention the breeding that Victor just met up and all those other things, all of the things that are done in factory farming cease. And not only that, and we're not replacing it with something that continues the animal cruelty. And you don't have to do this all at once. You can slowly but surely, through subsidies, this would be a policy I would support, subsidies make this more accessible. I mean, incredibly so. So that factory farms start decreasing their amounts. You can then have them move over to this. There could be even tax incentives to move over to doing this instead.
They're off on some conversation that I'm not clear on.
I love you all. Focus. For the love of God. The point being is, I also love cows and think they're cute. They're also delicious, so we have a conflict.
I think the big thing though is be open to lab-grown meat being a thing.
Yeah.
Right? Just be open to this.
Look at that. That looks fucking tasty as shit.
That's the big part. It's just this is one of those interesting things that could have a lot of cool effects.
Yeah, I mean, like, let's be clear. I'm not like a futurist per se, but I have mentioned before that I do have a lot of transhumanist leanings. And for me, I'm a big fan of the fact that humans' next stage of evolution, whatever that is, this is my honest belief, is that I don't know if it's going to be just something that naturally happens or an artificial change in ourselves. That could be, yeah, GMOs was never a safety issue. It was a copywriting issue and people just making nothing out of it. Again, ugh. But to me, I do think that, like, finding the best ways to do this and finding ways to start basically subsidizing out, factory farming means you get the best of both worlds. Not only do you get something that you can build that can feed people, but depending on how intensive this process is, this could lead to, so for example, what are the building blocks for it? And then the other thing would be is like questions around, like, how much power does this require? This could be an argument for nuclear, which I've always been a big fan of as a stopgap until battery technology changes, things like that. You can make a lot of really good arguments for how to deal with environmental issues just by changing the way this system functions. And so my invitation to you, this is the thought, is find alternatives. If you can afford, if you can't afford anything special, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. There are bigger concerns. But if you have the ability to buy like more grass-fed, more free-range animals, or at least products from animals, do that. That's something. Decrease the cruelty that you inflict by your choices, even if you can just do it a little bit. Cage-free eggs are still better than caged eggs. And if you're able to, get meat from interesting sources, right? Amaru Farms is a good example. Amaru Hill Farms is a good example. There are other places too. The fact is, do what's within your means and try to think out of the box on this stuff. We're all just trying to figure this out together. All right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, and one last thing, just as a side note, I know we had a little pause there, but I'll do another one real quick. If you do order from that farm, just mention I could do we could do a sponsorship. I'm just saying. Anyway, just saying. Just saying. Anyway.
That's true.
Love you guys. See you in the next one.
Bye.
Hey everybody. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. You can also ring the bell if you want to be notified of our videos. If you want to help the channel, you can donate at streamlabs.com/transgirltherapist/tip. You also can become a patron at patreon.com/transgirltherapist. For as low as $3, you can support our channel. Thanks for watching.